as big a derriere or as shapely a derriere as I would like. So that again becomes like it's almost like it suddenly became, first of all, internally I was like, damn, I thought the boobs would save me. I thought those were the things. Literally, I was hanging
Mm-hmm.
on for dear life for those things. And then suddenly we are at big butts. I don't have a big butt. And now it's like, so now you're just fat for nothing.
Mm.
Like, you're just fat for nothing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And society ensured that I felt as such. You know what I mean? Like, it's like you have nothing to offer beyond your appearance. And I think there's always a misconstrued notion on body positivity when it comes to, like, if you see a big woman posing naked, she's not trying to tell you that, oh, even me, I need to be
Yeah.
sexualized or whatever. It's more so just to be like, I'm finally comfortable. I'm finally comfortable.
Mm.
So whether I want to take a fully nude picture or one in a complete burqa, like from head covered in like the Muslim traditional wear, that is my business, not yours. What I think the idea here is that when women take control of that mental state to being comfortable in the body, then they do it out of, I can finally breathe. Or at least for me, that's how it felt, right? So being, oh, the mental is crazy. Let me just say that. Like, you go through so many ups and downs because as you're going through those motions, you're trying to create excuses or find like little justifications for, okay, I'm fat, but I'm fat, but I'm fat,
Yeah.
but, and it just should be, I'm human, and that's enough.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Above everything else, you're a person first before all these other things.
Before I'm
Um,
woman, before I am mom,
yeah.
before I am daughter, before I am fat,
Yeah.
I am human.
Imagine.
Yeah.
Wow. Thank you. I'm really loving this conversation. Gustav, how did this affect you? I really want you to give us like two perspectives, Gustav, because you
Mhm.
talked of a perspective when you are younger and you used to look at your ankles and you wanted to get there. So at that point, what was going on within you? And then also share on this recent episode where now people are like, oh, you've become smaller. Why, why is that? Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I nearly forgot what I was going to say because I just was so drawn into listening to what everybody was saying. But when I was younger, I think it was just more so I had a curiosity of just exploring life because you're a young boy. You see superheroes, you want to be big. And in my family, my uncles in my mother's side are very big and muscular. A lot of them are like this. So I think for me, I just looked at them and I just simply wanted to be like them because that's what you see. And I think oftentimes, for a lot of people, whatever we see as home at home is what we see as the norm.
Mm-hmm.
So it makes us comfortable. And generally, it was a normal thing for me. When I started to get body shamed in terms of, okay, you need to get bigger quicker now, like you're too skinny still, in this young age, I feel as if that's when my mind started to shift. And now that I'm older, looking in hindsight, I
Mm-hmm.
feel as if the things which I started to focus on a lot more in terms of body shaming became at the forefront of my life. They came all the way to the front, way too much, to the point that I saw how I look is more important than who I am. It's more important
Right.
than my character. It's more important that I'm respectable, purely because everybody judges you and makes a conclusion purely based on how you look. Um, so I found myself trying to overcompensate and like training, spending a lot of time thinking about my body when I could have been thinking about other things that could have developed me in life for other aspects. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and that was my general experience with that. And I would say that's the issue of a lot of people. we get told who we're supposed to be and how we're supposed to look, so much so that it distracts us from bigger pictures, other things you could be accomplishing. And then you get older in life and you realize, wow, I should have taken that job offer. I should have applied for this job, but I didn't. Why? I didn't think enough. But why did you not think you're enough? Purely because it came back from what you were told since you were really young. And your body and you applying for a job should not ever go hand in hand. It should never deter you from going, because you have to use your brain. You don't use your arms. You don't use your thighs to do your job. You use your brain. As opposed to now, I came to a point in my life where I think because I'm from a Christian family, and for me just working in ministry for a long time now already, I came to a point when I started to just realize the person makes the man or the woman. Who you actually are, your character, your personality, that's what makes you. And therefore, I stopped putting so much pressure on myself in terms of maintaining a physique or being in a certain place, because I realized it doesn't define me. I can break my leg, and if I break my leg tomorrow, this body will fade. I will not have the energy to keep on training it. But who I am is still there. So these days, I'm not so bothered. I see my physique as a cherry on the cake. When I have time to work on it, I work on it and I improve it. When I don't have time, then it is what it is. I've got other things. My character continues to develop. My personality continues to develop. So in terms of my mindset now, I've seen a lot of clients who have trained, and I've seen how they have moved from even getting a pay rise or promotion in their jobs purely because their body changed. And I was for them, but I was very sad because they've hit milestones which they could have hit 5 years, 6 years before, purely because they were made to feel confident in their body. So that's been my experience in terms of my mental experience and my mental transition. But it's a time eater. I feel as if that's the biggest issue about body shaming and body positivity. It eats away at your time and you end up focusing on things which are secondary.
Thank you so much, Gustav. That is wealth of wisdom. I like to say that nobody can drive you crazy. I read that somewhere. Nobody can drive you crazy unless you give them the keys to do that. This whole conversation, a larger part of it begins from ourselves, our internal frame of reference. Like, how do you view yourself? What's the mental picture you have of yourself? Number one. Number two, when you look at yourself in the mirror, what is it that you see? And are you able to love and to accept that? Because what I've really heard from this conversation in regards to how this affected my fellow panelists here is that you became preoccupied. Yeah. So there's this one thing. And because you've been body shamed about it, somehow you've thrown every other thing out of the window. So now your preoccupation is about trying to either beat that or trying to somehow fit into this description that has been given to you. And also one thing that I have also kind of really listened into is the fact that there was no like that personal definition of who you are supposed to be in regards of other things in your life except the body image. Yeah. So when we are able to look at what am I able to do? Like, who am I as an individual? Do I have a value system? What are my strengths? What are my weaknesses? What do I really like? What is my passion? What do I want to be? Like when kids are young and they're growing up, like really their mind is just focused on growth and their view of life is really untainted. Yeah. And that's why you always find that they keep on saying these big things that they really want to do. But then when we start allowing other people's words, when we start allowing external conversation based on what we watch and the unfairness of life, then that ends up tainting us, unfortunately, as well. I want to get into, because everybody who's shared in this panel, I feel that like you're all in a positive space or at least working on yourself. So I really want to know, how did you get there? But before we go to that conversation, I just want to welcome anybody who is joining us via Facebook, anybody who is joining the webinar as this conversation is going on. We are talking about body positivity in all forms. I have a stellar panel. Please feel free to ask questions if you're in the webinar. Drop it at the Q&A box. If you are joining us from Facebook, please drop us a comment. We are going to be going through that. So guys, how did you get? Is it possible? Actually, yesterday when I did the poll, somebody, and I put it on my status, somebody said, you mean it's possible to get to that point? And I said, absolutely. Please join this conversation so you can learn. Absolutely. So how did you guys get to where you are today?
Mind if I go first?
Yes, Wanga.
So this is how I kind of got to the place of, because a lot of people are always complimenting me on my confidence, and I'm like, I'm loud. There's a difference, yeah. So it just got to a point of like understanding that there's absolutely nobody on this planet Earth, especially in this generation of social media. They're like what I said, like somebody will always have something to say. Everybody, for example, let me take an example of like the latest chick who went viral, Aziad. She is quintessentially like what the world expects of a beautiful woman or girl. She's slender enough. She has the right physique. She has the right smile. She's a very beautiful girl. No questions asked. But the amount of hate people, they talked about her teeth, they talked about her lips, they talked about her hair, they talked about the way she was dancing, what top she was. There's nothing they are going to say something about you anyway.
Right.
Might as well live your life the way you want it. And that is how I personally got to the place of, you know what? Sawa basi, like let it sawa basi. And this is not to say that they're not days where I'm just like, guy, Aki another Makanga was just like, because literally the other day I was working in Isili looking for material, and somebody was like, hey, madam, una tisha, as in for anyone who doesn't speak Swahili, it means, hey, madam, you're scary.
Yeah, you're
like, scary. Excuse you? I'm cute as hell. You know what I mean? Like, don't even. And I, like, in my mind, my automatic response, because of through the training, through my platform called Project Huru, which is empowering plus size women, and on my own personal social media page on Plus Wanga Princess on everything, I always use laughter and self-affirmation to be like, excuse you, you're not going to be the one to determine. Sorry, I'm scary. But when I get home, I remember that guy said that. And you will have days like that for sure, but with continual practice, because for everything, what our parents didn't teach us is that being an adult, everything that you desire will take effort and practice. And that means even self-care, even mental stability, even physical wellness. Everything takes effort. And thus we have to decide that we are important enough to put in that effort. So putting in effort to tell yourself every day that actually, girl, you're all right. Actually, because today you'll say, okay, I'm not that bad. Tomorrow you'll be like, actually, I'm quite all right. By the end of the week or end of the year or end of however long you need to get there, you will be like, actually, I dare somebody to come and say I'm not the one. You know what I mean? So
yeah,
it takes practice. It takes a lot of effort. And I say to people, don't give up on yourself. Because if you do, then who is supposed to work for you? So
Wow.
practice, practice, practice.
I really love that. Don't give up on yourself. I also love the fact that, I mean, everybody is obviously going to have an opinion of you. And if everything that you do is dependent on other people's opinion, you're just going to be windy, because if the wind goes this way, you're that way. If the wind, and that is actually really mentally exhausting. Yeah. How did you get to where you are, Alan?
Okay, how I got to where I am? Yes, I've come to accept and appreciate the shape of my head. Yeah, because there's nothing really I can do to change that. You know, I can remember growing up, I used to ask myself, you know, how when growing up, I used to hear that mothers, like, when their baby was born, they shaped their kids'
All
heads, you
right.
know. Yeah, and I used to wonder why my mom, like, you know, didn't like shape my head properly.
Right.
But I've come to accept that this is a part of a body part, my body part, that I can never change. And I've come to appreciate myself for how it is and how I look. Yeah. So basically, how I got to the point where I'm compatible with it is just acceptance. Yeah.
Acceptance. Wow.
Yeah.
Alan, I really hope you and any other person who is watching really just know that that is a myth. You don't mold a baby's head into a certain shape. So there's nothing. Your mother did not do anything wrong. Yeah, acceptance is key, absolutely, at the top of the list. Whether it is your head, whether it's your height, your weight, whatever space you are in, you need to get to a point where you're like, okay, you know what? Look, this is it. This is me. It is what it is. And what more do I have to offer other than just what people can see when they look at me? All right. Siombua, is Mary back? All right. Siombua? No.
Okay, so I have a very interesting saying that I always say all the time, is the world will get the body I give it. So that's my, it's like, if I feel like I want to walk, I will walk. If I feel like I want to work out, I will work out. If I feel like being a couch potato, that is it. The world will get the body that I give it, because I was done with just being told all the time, you have to be like this, you have to look like this, you know. I remember there's a time a very good friend of mine, I met him in the middle of the road when I was going to work, and he was like, oh my God, what happened to you? You are lucky you have such a cute face. Otherwise, girl, you have blown up. And I was like, wow, okay. I'm like, I'm usually blown up in normal circumstances. So I was like, that was it. Okay. I think at the time I thought it was really funny. But after some time, when you think about it, you go like, okay, have I really gone that fat? Am I really that big? And like Wanga said, it had defined a certain way of where plus was supposed to be. It is you have
Right.
either big boobs, big ass, or you have and a very tiny stomach. And in
for men as
reality,
well.
yes,
Yeah.
and in reality, the thighs do come with the ass, and the bit of stomach does come, because your legs have to be able to carry that ass. So there's no way you're having slender legs and an excessive behind. It doesn't work. The natural body has to be able to carry itself. So you cannot tell me my hips are too big, and I'm like, no, they're enough to carry what I have behind there naturally. So I think I came to that realization of, this is me, this is all I got, this is my body as it is, take it or leave it. Hey, I'm happy about me. So I'm a be me, I'm a dress me. If you try and attempt something, I'm a whoop you ass, but it is what it is.
Wow. Thank you. Gustav, I love that. The world will get the body I give to them. I love that. I've never heard of that. That's a really good landing point. I mean, and it's up to us to define for ourselves who we are and what we want. And then any other person who comes across us, here it is, this is me. You can accept. If not, you can keep moving, right? Yeah, Gustav. Yes, how did you get to a point of acceptance?
I'll say, in addition to the points that have been made, because I can relate to a lot of what's been said, I would say for myself, I don't always speak for myself when it comes to this topic, purely because I feel as if, coming back to my parents again, they pumped so much confidence into my head, maybe to a point where it's even irrational, but they pumped so much confidence to the point where I've never ever thought that I'm not enough. I've never had a deep feeling of that, because regardless of how I look, it's like the confidence they gave me since I was young. I've always just thought, kind of like what Siambo has just said, I am who I am. You take what I give you when I give it to you. When I'm big, you take my bigness. When I'm small, you take it. Because that, I'm just confident. It doesn't really bother me too much. But when it comes to like a change of mindset, I've worked with many clients, and the practical ways which I work with them to help them get to that point, which is also difficult to help somebody get to that point. I guess yourself, it could be easier, but for somebody else, sometimes it's difficult because I'm not in their brain. But what I have seen is the one key word which I always give people. It's hard, but if you want to get to a positive place with yourself, you need a reality check. That's something, there's no other way I could put it. It sounds a bit hard to take, but you have to have a reality check. Genetically, your mom and your dad came together and you are a product of their genetics. Kim K's parents did not give birth to you, you know? So you can't expect to have their body when you don't have their parents. Their parents is not your parents. Your parents are your parents, and you have no option but to take their genetics. So like how many of us are here on this panel, I can see that we're all different types of body types. We can all decide to a certain point, but all of us have limitations. I might never be as fast as Alan, you know, as an example. Gathoni might not be able to get to Siambua's size. Siambua might not be able to get to Wanga's size. All of these things can't really happen, or shapes. It's fixed in a certain way. So I try to tell my clients that based on your body type or based on who you are, realistically, this is what you achieve. So this also comes down to things like Instagram. Be realistic with yourself and be honest with yourself and be kind to yourself. You can't spend all the hours in the day looking at girls or men with physiques which you do not have. You don't have their body type, but you tell yourself this is what beauty is. That's how social media functions. They tell you what beauty is, and then you aim to achieve this goal, which they know you can't achieve. That's never going to help you get positive with your body, because you're living in the dream that the companies want you to live in. You're living in a fairy tale, and that's how they invest in you. They get your money all the time. So I'd say you need a reality check in that sense. And I'd also say another thing is, coming from the church scenario, from the Bible will tell you, guard the avenues of your mind, for out of it flows the issues of life. You might need to distance yourself from people who are constantly talking negatively to you about your physique. It's not healthy for you to be around people who are constantly telling you you're too big, you're too skinny, you're too this. And you can't say that these are my friends. These are not your friends. You need to distance yourself from that environment and be in an environment where people will look after your mental health. They'll take you as you are, whether you're big or small, and they'll go with you on that journey. So I'd say these things, in addition to what's been said, can help you get to the point where you're positive with yourself. And you just need to remind yourself, last thing, is that in a world where how you look seems to be the biggest currency, at the end of the day, nobody likes to be around anybody that's not nice. Whether it's getting married, whether it's friends, your physique might attract people, but once they realize what you truly are, that will really affect who you keep in your life. So focus on the bigger currency, and the bigger currency is always character. Because when you get to 40 years old, your body will start to fade. When you get to 50, 60, 70, your body's always fading. If you find happiness in your physique, you're going to be old and angry.
Wow, guys, I hope you are still with us and still watching. That is such loaded wisdom from this really great panel. Let me just reiterate what Gustav has talked about. You know, that click, unless that mental shift actually happens, then you will just be like what I had said before. You will continue being a slave of certain types of description. And another thing that has also been mentioned that I feel that is very, very important, comparison is like the biggest enemy of any progress that you might want to make in your life. All right. And we look at comparison in two ways. So upward comparison, you're in place X and you're just looking at Akin K or whoever, those people who you idolize, who we've been told very well, their folks are not your folks. So there is no way you will wake up one day and genetically you look like that. All right. So that kind of upward comparison just contributes to you feeling worse and worse about yourself in any form. In any form, especially specifically to this conversation of body image and body positivity. All right. The downward comparison also comes when you put yourself in a certain space and then your focus is always on the people who don't have what you have. So you keep saying, but at least I don't have big boobs like that person. But at least I'm not as teeny as that person. I mean, that doesn't even mean that by anyone, at any one particular time that you feel good about yourself. Remember I said that body image or body positivity, it's both a mental picture and what you see when you look at them. So that mental shift, first of all, needs to happen for you to actually come into terms with the reality of who you are and where you are and where you came from. And then now define your own path for yourself that is dependent on just you and not any other external person. There are questions that have come in that are really, really good, but I really want to ask this other question to the panelists. Tell me how you can either give your own experience or somebody asking for a friend or speaking on behalf of a friend. How has this affected maybe you in relationships? Or how does this conversation about body positivity affect people in relationships? Who would like to go first?
Me, please.
Yes, go, Anga. Please, also just a reminder, we are running short of time, but I really want to have this conversation. Yes.
I am single as hell, girl. Past relationships, they most of the time is okay. So let me say this, yeah. Of late, I have been getting a lot of people who slide into my DMs who are like, oh, I'm so into plus size girls and blah, 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 blah. But then a lot of the time, the people they've committed to are not plus size people. Two, I really hate the idea of somebody telling me they've only talked to me because I'm plus size. Because to me, what that says is that if ever there's a change in my life, if ever there's a point where I'm like, I decide to go on this whole health fitness journey and like I decide to go vegan and or whatever, or like I decide to do gastric bypass or whatever I decide to do with my body and it changes, then does that mean you will stop loving me because the thing that brought you to me has disappeared? So right. I'm like, I actually appreciate dudes who don't normally date plus size girls, and not because they don't want to date us, it's just because they had never found somebody who happened to be plus size and who they also happen to want to be in a relationship or an entanglement with. You know what I mean? So it normally irks me to be fetishized although every now and then, I mean, everybody wants to be desired. So if you're desiring me on a very physical, primal level, I will appreciate that to the extent that that my boundaries permit, right? But beyond that, I like, ugh, don't tell me that the only reason you're talking to me is because I love BBWs, or hey, when is size your mine? Sir, you obviously are attracted to me, which is why you have engaged in a conversation with me. Your engagement in conversation is supposed to be now, okay, she's cute. So can I have a conversation with her? Can I build something with her? Can we go further than just being acquaintances and even engage in a relationship? You know what I mean?
Yeah,
And
yeah.
because I am constantly doing the same thing, I also have preferences. I also like end up dating. Really, to be honest, my dating history is everywhere. Like I've dated small, big, tall, short, zote. Mchanganyiko maalum, all inside. But meet me at my point of understanding and I will do my best to meet you at yours, you know? And do not throw the weight and or body thing back at me, because I find that a lot of the time when relationships progress and they grow resentful, which is why I'm probably not in them anymore, but they grow resentful, suddenly your weight becomes an issue again. And I'm like, you met me this size.
Right.
Have I changed? You know what I mean? Anyway, yeah, that's all I have to say.
You have had it from one and
I want to
only,
add on to
plus
that.
Wanga. Yes.
I want to, I can relate 100% on what she's saying, and especially in the slide into the DM. And the first thing they say is, whoa, I love your body. Can I take you out? And I'm like, okay, if it was possible to just take out my body and leave the rest of me alone, my body could always go. And after you're done with the date, it can come back. Because it's a thing, it's become this fetish thing of wanting to date a plus size woman, wanting to sleep with a plus size woman. And it's actually really annoying because when someone is talking to you, they're not talking to you because you're a person or because you're brilliant or because you have actually something to say. And they want to talk to you because you're plus and they want to see if it's possible to get away with just looking at your body alone. So for me, a lot of times, if you're coming to me and the first thing you do is compliment my body, goodbye. In fact, that's where you get the block. So, because first of all, you have to engage my mind. You have to engage my brain. And if you don't do that, at your time, Sina. So because I am passionate about politics, about environment, so talk to me on a level of about sports, as in I work in sports. Talk to me about sports. You know, I'll give you stats on football because I work in football every day. But if you're coming in with that one of like, hey, that car ass, I want to spank it. Anyway, you guy, no, it doesn't work.
Yeah.
Okay, and
But
sorry,
by the way,
just
Angela, on that note, just a minute, Wanga, I'm just wondering, Angela, have you ever gotten any negative remarks because you are in sports management and you're plus size? Have you ever
Of
gotten
course.
the kind of right?
All the time. In fact, I remember once I was having a conversation with a parent, and the parent asked me, "Are you sure you're in sports? And the way you're big, it's not you who's training people." And I'm like, no, I'm actually the career coach, the sports manager. We do have coaches for that part. My work is to ensure that all the teammates are well, their careers are going well, their diets are on course. And the lady was like, and you don't take the diet yourself? And I was like, well, I
Wow.
usually don't take a
Wow.
sports diet because I'm not a it
Wow.
happens a lot. Because
Wanga. Oh, sorry. I was
no,
going to
no.
tell Wanga because I cut her short.
Short.
But
Yeah.
before we get to Waga, I'm wondering how do the men feel about this conversation in regards to relationships and body positivity? We are not going to, we won't shoot you.
So my take is, first of all, I just want to say I think Siombo's point is so good, because I'm in health and fitness and I've been in sports for so many years. And it's always a crazy comment to me for people to ask, are you sure you're in sport because you're big? It's as if people assume every athlete is small. There's all kinds of sports that require different sizes. So you can find athletes of any size. Skinny people cannot take part in stuff like rugby, or it's not advised. So it shouldn't correlate. But in terms of relationships, to stick to the topic at hand, I would say that, I hope this is not taken negatively, but I'd say that whatever we present in the dating process, or if you're pursuing a relationship, try to maintain it. Because if I see you and you're a certain way, I'm not saying that you should never change. I think men should always make women and women should always make men to feel comfortable. If something happens and your body starts to change, they should always embrace you. But I'd say as far as possible, if I present myself as a big, strong, muscular guy, I should not now start to relax because we're together. Because you get what I mean? For me, that's a level of fraud, because I've basically reeled you in, you've seen what you like, it's no problem with you as a woman liking a muscular man, but now I'm relaxing because you're mine. I feel as if that's a problem. You need to try and keep the same energy which you had from the beginning. But I feel as if with that expectation, have a leeway to be understanding, so that you know that if something is happening and someone's going through some certain processes, like Gathoni said, having a child, or mental, like your mind is not in the same place and you're adding weight or you're losing weight, people should be able to be patient with you, but you should try as fast as possible to go on a journey to return back to what it is that you were, because that's where somebody found you, and that's part of what they're attracted to. Also,
well,
I'd say,
let me just poke you right there, because what also I heard from, I think, Wanga and Siombua is, and you also said that we need to look at this conversation beyond just physical appearance. And growth is progressive. I mean, the way maybe my mind was when I was younger, like I remember at some point, maybe in my early 20s or just 19 to 20, I used to think I'm fat. And I could not even wear a two-piece because at that point I thought I was fat. But I am, I think, 10 kilograms more than I was at that point. But I love myself now at this phase of my life and where I am way more than I did when I was at that point. In fact, I would never want to go to that point. But if you are saying that if somebody met you like this, you should try and maintain that, we are also saying that we are not going to allow people to progressively grow and change and be in charge of where they want to be. If you want to add, if you want to reduce, if you want to get into a health and fitness journey, if you're undergoing through certain pressures that maybe you let go of yourself, because the character of that human being, which I believe is also part and parcel of why that relationship happened in the first place, has not changed. That person has not changed in any particular point. As an individual, they have not changed.
Yeah.
It's just the outside appearance.
Yes, I totally agree with you. I think that's a strong point, and I support what you're saying in terms of that aspect, because like you said, it's a progression. It's you go on a journey with somebody and you never know how that journey will go. That's why even from my pastoral setting, I always advise people, make sure you like the person that you're getting with. Forget about the actual physique, the personality, who they are, how they laugh, how they walk, how they talk. Make sure you really, really like that, because that's something which is easily maintained. Yes, things can happen to them even still. People can pass away, and sometimes your personality might change a little bit, or you might go through depression. But oftentimes, who we are, our personality stays the same. So I'd say in terms of what the example you've just given, I'd say that's why I think it's very important that in the dating process, both males and females really take time and they slow things down to find out, what do you like about me? And try to
Right.
gauge how much of a percentage is a fetish. If it's a fetish, protect yourself, because you know that this person is going to be gone the moment that fetish is not met. But if you know that somebody genuinely likes you and your body is a plus to who you are, then you're more in a safer territory, because they're likely to give you that flexibility in your development.
Right, right. I really want to hear from what Alan is saying, but somebody in this webinar, they're saying they are really enjoying the conversation, very, very timely. And I have a lot of points to put across, but I don't want to get into a relationship only kind of conversation. I really just want to stay on body positivity, because I know that's another whole dynamic altogether. And I think we should discuss that at some point. Alan, how does body positivity come into play where relationships are concerned? Your own experience, what you've heard. Yeah.
Okay, so I think body positivity plays a major role in relationships. For example, I've had people who I've talked with friends, you know, who say that because of how they look, they fear rejection, you know, because of how they don't want maybe to talk with someone maybe that they like because of how they look. Maybe they've not accepted themselves for who they are. So they have these esteem issues regarding their looks. So they feel like they're going to be rejected by someone, yeah? And also in families, maybe in marriages, for example, bodies change. Like Gadoni, you mentioned when a lady gives birth to a child, there are certain changes that happen to their bodies. And then maybe some issues also might crop up, like esteem issues and all that. So maybe also the husbands or the partners can step in and, you know, reassure them that, you know, you're still beautiful the way you are and all that, because some people will start throwing shade. Just, you know, how some people may start throwing those shades whenever maybe you have a conversation, an argument, that is, they'll throw in a shade regarding your body. So maybe also partners can reassure their partners. And if you feel like maybe your partner has added weight, for example, or has gone through certain body changes because of one reason or the other, maybe as a partner also you can offer support, yeah, as in if it's encouraging them to change their diet, or maybe joining a gym or whatever, taking just an exercise, yoga, whatever, that can also help in improving their bodies, that can also really help. But yeah, so that's my take in relationships. It really affects because rejections can come in, blame games, even the sex life can be affected. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Wow. Yeah, and I'm really glad that you brought that into this conversation. Something that has not been mentioned. Absolutely, definitely, the sex life in that relationship will be affected. I really want to read a question that is on our Q&A. It's a very long one, but a good one. So this lady says, "Hi panel, Africans have been shamed by other races and even ourselves since colonial times because of our features, our hair being kinky, our skin color, especially dark-skinned people, our lips, nose, curvy body, etc. How can you empower generations of people who have been shamed because of such?" Yeah, question one. Maybe I'll give that to Gustav and Siobua, because they're like 3 questions. How can you empower generations of people who have been shamed because of such? Second question, still in the same sentence. How do you handle these issues yourself? All right. So I'll give that to Alan. If you've experienced any of these issues, how do you handle? And I think you had talked about something like that, but you can just reiterate. And then how do you also handle these issues in the workplace, especially when dealing with foreigners? All right, maybe Waga can attempt to do that. And also, I think Gustav, you can give us an input in that. Yeah, and well, it is true. We have been shamed or made to feel that we are not worth it, or we don't, because we don't meet a certain criteria in regards to body image. Yeah. So who would like to go first? How can we empower generations of people who have gone through that?
I don't mind starting off with the question which you directed directly to me, and Tiambua, in terms of empowering future generations. So one thing which I read recently, I was reminded of recently, was Kube's name, but he said it's easier to build stronger children than to repair broken men.
All right.
So one thing which is a fact is that colonial experience has impacted Africa or Black people in general in a massive, massive way. And it continues to happen today because the West still continues to lead in terms of defining what beauty is, and they very much sway the trends. And the issue which I think I'll challenge us as Africans, or us as Kenyans, in the little corner that we are in Africa, we need to start recognizing things that are detrimental to us as a people, and make sure and hold people accountable in our community in terms of the messages which we promote. And it's mostly through media. So media, we as Africans or Black people, we cannot continue to promote a trend which was given to us. So artists, music videos, what they portray as beauty, people need to pull them up and ask them about why is it that you're still portraying this stereotype. In terms of our daily interactions, people's stereotypes need to be addressed head on, because you cannot deal with a problem unless you attack it head on. And this is a problem it's a problem inside the mind. So the only way we can really start to shift and empower people is by changing the mind. If your mind doesn't change, you can't be empowered because it's still in a prison. You're still in the colonial mindset of being told you're not enough and you need to do more. So I'd say one. And obviously in terms of children are like sponges. When they're still young, they don't know anything. They're not aware of racism. They're not aware of all the prejudices. So people need to take more of an active role to educate the children correctly against what the colonial masters have taught the future generations. So they grow up with a different mind. And when you have these kind of people grow up to become presidents, influencers, social media, activists, all that kind of stuff, they will then have an influence on the rest of the masses, because that's what's happening today. Create better influencers who have a mind for that. That's what I'd say in terms of that aspect. Yeah.
Let me hear from Tiambua. So basically, from Gustav is that we look at the consumption, media consumption, for the younger people and for the adults who have been in that space and already gone through it, is to try and rewrite the narrative in regards to what they teach and they tell the younger generation, especially during that molding process. What we input in them is actually very important, and it goes a long way. And I also feel like, that's also being honest with them in regards to these are things that are there, they're out there. You might face them at some point in your life, other than completely trying to shield them from it, is also a good thing. Tiambua, tell me.
For me, okay, from where I stand, a typical African body is me. So I actually consider myself a queen of Africa because this is the African fool. It is the big ass, it is the thighs, this is the typical African woman. And therefore, if you check a lot of the photo shoots that I've done, they're the typical African woman photo shoots. It is with the lassos, it is with the, you're in the shamba looking fierce. There's no this thing of where we were told that we were too much, and so we have to cover up everything. No, if you look at our traditional photos and the photos of what our grandparents and our great grandparents and our traditional wears were, we were not hiding our bodies, and we were curvaceous, and we were proud of it. And therefore, for me, I have embraced that fully. I have embraced my body to the point of I love doing African photo shoots. And I remember, I think the very first time when I did my very first shoots, people are like, wow, na venye umenona unaanza kufanya photo shoots kama hiyo guy. Sasa unaonesha watu ngozi. Sasa unafanya. And I was like, come on, this is the African person. This is the African woman. The African woman is actually very curved. If you look at, they used to take African women, put them in cages during our colonial times, and had people stare at them as monuments. If you took that, if instead of taking that as a negative perspective and take it into the positive of what, yes, this is me, and this is how amazing I am, and this is my natural body, and yes, I am fully African, and I am embracing my Africanness, you find that a lot of people get that energy from me. And I get a lot of people who are like, oh my God, you know, as in like, there was no way I was able for myself to be able to take such photo shoots, because I always thought that because I was curvaceous, I always had to cover myself. I always had to wear baggy clothes. And I was like, no, show off your body, because this is what true Africanness is. Because we are not that skinny as most of our people, and as what has been portrayed as to be pretty. And neither are, so how are we going to change the minds of girls who are in high school or younger ages who are curvaceous? Because we start being curvaceous from class 8 or from 8 years old, and we're starting to grow. So you'll find that by the time you're 8 years old, the acid has already started coming out. You're getting your boobs here and there. And so are we going to hide ourselves, or are we going to tell this girl to embrace yourself? Because this is the true African nature of the true African woman, you know? So it's like we are not hiding ourselves anymore. We are not going to accept being shamed anymore. This is what we got. This is our bodies. We are proud of them.
Right, right.
This is where Mother Nature started. So you've got to respect all this beauty that's coming from Africa and the women.
Wow, thank you. So basically, self-awareness and accepting who we are, and basically not hiding, just living
Yes.
our truth, not hiding
Yes.
from who we are and what the structure is.
We are defining beauty ourselves as women and as African women. We are curvaceous. We come with hips, we come with ass, we come with the stomach combined, and we are proud of it.
Yes, I can see Alan smiling. Alan, what do you have to say? Because both empowering and how we are dealing with these issues are like a transparent line. It's kind of the same thing. Yes.
Yeah,
Tell
I
us.
like what Siongoa has said. Just accepting who we are, right? We have the kinky hair, the big bulbous nose. Mine is like the real definition of a huge African nose. Our skin tone, you know, our body size and shapes and all that. So she has said it perfectly. Just acceptance. You know, this is who we are. We can't change it. You know, the Western world has made it seem like skinny is the new, yani being skinny is beautiful, if I may say so. But from what I can see on the panel and out there as an African, even big is beautiful. So yeah, I think
Wow, thank you so much.
got it from, yeah.
I'm really beginning to think like we should have a part 2 of this conversation, because the questions, oh Lord, I mean, and we already half an hour past the conversation. But Wanga plus Wanga, Karibu, and please bless us with words of wisdom
No, first I'ma need Gustav to like repeat what he said.
I just knew that was
Gustav,
coming.
I need you to repeat what you said for me, sir.
Ah, yeah.
No, seriously, I'm waiting for you to say it, Gustav, please.
So
You said
Gustav
something
is
about
repeating.
children. It is easier to fix children than fix broken men.
It's easier. Yes, easier to build strong children than to repair broken men.
Somebody give that man a beer. Somebody give that man a beer.
We will just give him a high five for now.
As in,
Absolutely.
I believe I have an 8-year-old daughter who is very different body-wise from me. She, in fact, even in character, she's more demure, she's more calm, more rational. And she's also growing into her own personality. And the one thing I always want to keep open is the lines of communication. If you are speaking, if you are reading, if you are enlightening yourself, or putting yourself in environments where you are open to knowledge, open to learning, open to embracing the different from what is yours. Because the truth of the matter is, even within our own struggles of body positivity, there are prejudices that we have. There are traumas that we project on others based off of how because we are the sum of our experiences. And if we are always projecting and always leaning into the traumas, then our children will continue the cycle. So if we and we also have to learn to forgive ourselves for making the mistakes that we do, and understand that there's always a chance to do better. So if we get on that path there's always a chance to do better, whether that is within ourselves, whether partaking in self-care. Sorry, I live on the road, if you had that, my bad. Partaking in self-care, partaking in understanding, growth, learning, progressive journeys, then we will always do better with ourselves, with our children, with the people around us, with our society. If we understand, if we forgive ourselves for our mistakes, but understand there's always a chance to do better, I think we have hope. But to the question that you directed towards me, how have foreigners, gosh, I have had employers which I don't want to speak out of turn, but I suspect that there may have been times where my foreign employers or foreign colleagues were not very accepting of who I am, because this is in reference to specifically me, not necessarily my race or maybe my weight. Although I worked in media, so it was not off the table. Like the idea that they sidelined me or were prejudiced against me was my weight is not at all off the table because of the industry that I am in. I like to say that I'm loud, rude, and obnoxious. Loud because I scream a lot, as obviously showcased in this life. Rude and obnoxious because I'm not willing to conform or dim my light to make you comfortable. All right? I'm not willing to change up my persona because I generally think I'm a decent human. I'm kind to most people, if not all. I try and be empathetic. I try and do good and impact my society, my surrounding society, the best way I know how and the best way I know I can. So any other nuances that may slip by, whether you think I'm too loud, oh, she's too much, or oh, why is she not dressed in like a strappy thing? Why is she like in her short dress or whatever? Those are based off of personal preference. Some people like me loud, some people don't. It's okay. Unsubscribe and unfollow. Click that unfollow button immediately, because there's not much I can do to change your personal preference. But what I can help you understand is that I am here, I am human, I am open to your connection with me. But if that is not for you, then it is also okay. I do not have to be your brand of tea for us to progress forward. I'm not supposed to be everybody's friend. I'm not supposed to be everybody's lover. I just need to have one lover who loves me unconditionally. I just need one friend, maybe three, to have like my tequila shots with. I just need one family member to help, like to be part of my team, because if you want to move, go quick, go alone. But if you want to go far, go together. So I just need that squad that is with me, whether they understand me or not, but purely based off of, I am here to support you and I'm willing to take the journey with you to understand you. And vice versa, of course, it's a revolving door of love and support. So beyond that, you really have no control. You are only in charge of what you say, what you do. You cannot control what anyone else does. Whether they receive your message in a positive light or a negative one, that is not on you. Your intentions, your purpose, your intent has been put out there into the world. Let the universe do it, the rest. Yeah.
Wow. Wow. And I'll just use that as our parting shot. Like, you're only in control of you and what you can do that is within you. That's the only space. And another thing that was also said earlier, we need to take charge of our thoughts. I love to say that the biggest enemy is not your family, it's not your relatives, it's not your friends, or even your colleagues. The biggest enemy is the voice that you have in between here. And if that voice is feeding you negative thoughts that become ruminating thoughts, then that becomes an action, and then too many actions become a prevailing behavior. Thoughts, action, behavior. This conversation, this space where you are at, body positivity, and everything that is to do with you as a person and as a human being needs to begin from a change in your mindset, a change in your thought processes. All right. It's almost 5. I'm just gonna give you guys really 10 seconds each. Okay, just 10 seconds just to give us a parting shot, even though Wanga gave us a really powerful parting shot. Let me just give Alan and Siombua and Gustav, and if Wanga, you wanna add something else, just a parting shot in this conversation, and we shall discuss whether we need a part 2, because really there were so many questions. There are really so many questions that have come in. Alan, parting shot, how can people find you?
Okay, so I'm glad that all of us here have accepted or are in the process of accepting ourselves the way we are. And mine is maybe to someone out there who has yet to maybe, accept themselves. Mine is just to tell them just to treat your body or yourself the way you'd treat your first car. There's that love that we always have for our first car. For those of us who have cars, that is, I don't have, so this is what I've had anyway. Yeah, so.
Spot on, thank you.
Yeah, so just treat yourself the way you would of your first car. There's that love, tenderness, you take it to the mechanic, there's just that bond you have with it, So from there, that's just pretty much my part in short. Yeah.
Thank you, Alan. Treat yourself as you'd treat your first car. Treat yourself as you would like another person to treat you. All right. Yeah. You're the most important part of your life's puzzle. All right. So you first. Siombua.
Yeah.
All right. So there's this Bible quote that says, "We created them in our image and likeness." In regards to when God was creating the universe, he created humans in their image and their likeness, which means your body type, your body shape was created in the image and the likeness of God. So embrace your glory, embrace yourself, love yourself, because this is what you are created this way for a purpose. There's a reason why you look the way you look. So love yourself, because there's a purpose as to why you came the way you are, and no one else looks like you. It is because your purpose on earth had to be fulfilled. It needs to be fulfilled only by you, only by the way you look. So do not, as much as there are so many negative energies that usually come, block those energies. Pull the full wanga, block, bye, see ya later. As in, you're not supposed to be on my space, by the way. As in, I don't be bringing this energy to me. No. Yeah? There's a reason as to why this queen was created as this queen. And this queen needs to represent as she is the way she is. So you got to love yourself. You've got to understand that when you were brought here for a purpose, and you look the way you look for a reason.
Thank you, Angela. You are created in the image and the likeness of God. Every day you wake up and look at yourself, that's God. He did that. All right.
You stand in that mirror and say, yes, this was the perfection God created.
Thank you. Gustav?
A lot has been said, and I wouldn't want to add too much more to that, but I was literally going to come from a similar angle to Siombua as well, in the sense that the fact that you're made in the image of God, it means that you're enough. As you are right now, you are enough. Your value is at its peak, and you altering your body, you altering your hair, you altering anything that's to do with how you look is simply a bonus. Think of it as that way. You are enough. You're enough already. Anyone who thinks that you're not enough, you don't need them. Whoever sees you as being enough as you are, that's the true representation of who you are. And anything that you add on top of it, think of it as a bonus. Think of it as, I'm just adding this new thing. I'm just adding this extra thing, but it's not necessarily the thing that defines me.
Wow, thank you. Wanga, did you want to add something?
How mad would people be if they found out that they were fat angels? Anyway, I just want to say thank you so much for this conversation. I hope everybody finds their confidence, finds self-love. Please follow me on Project Huru, which is where we empower plus-size women and are doing a documentary based off of 3 plus-size women in Kenya. My page, Plus Wanga Princess, where people say I'm funny sometimes. So, and like, I really enjoyed being on this panel with each and every one of you. For everybody who joined us, thank you so much for your support and for channeling the positive energy for our mental health and our well-being. Yeah.
Wow, thank you. And that brings us to the end of this really fiery conversation. Thank you, Chiromo Mental Health Hospital, for continued support for us to be able to talk on all matters mental health. Thank you, Alan, for being in this panel. We learned a lot from you. Siombua, thank you so much for the energy that you brought. Wanga, thank you so much for, I'm actually gonna go right now to IG and look at Project Huru and see what you're doing. Thank you so much, Gustav, for reaching out to us, for bringing a good angle into this conversation. representing the men out there. I'm really happy. My name is Gathoni Mbogwa. I am a clinical psychologist and a mental health advocate. I'm really, really passionate about all matters mental health. So to my fellow panelists, as we are ending this conversation, I have a happy dance. Just do like this, then you'll start smiling. Guys, Wanga, Alan, happy dance. Yes. Happy dance. Gustav, you're not doing a happy dance. Yes. Thank you. Thank you, everybody. And anybody who joined us from Facebook, asante sana, tunashukuru. Thank you for your support. See you next week, Friday, as we talk about mental health and nutrition. That's also going to be another nice one. And if you're in this panel, you can also join us then as well. Kwaherini.